Are you looking forward to the dawn? This is a phrase that pops up a couple of times in Curse Crackers, and it's pretty obvious that it has some sort of deeper meaning, especially when Carolyn says it to Belle just to check something. At first, we're made to think that Carolyn is just here searching for her father Amadeus, but with this, it seems like she may have gotten herself involved with something a lot bigger. And that's saying something. Amadeus is a big boy. For a long time, it was just her and Riley, the Reaper who you help collect lost souls in the post-game, that said this ominous phrase, although Riley says it with a lot less caution than Carolyn, almost as though she fully expects Belle to know what she's talking about. However, this all changed with the update that dropped at the very end of 2022, titled Halt at Dawn. This update gave us our first taste of Bonnie gameplay, where you go rescue Belle from the colourless void, only to find that she's already had her colours drained by Colourgrave. But I'm gonna get carried away if I'm not careful, so the part of the Halt at Dawn I want to focus on for now is the fight with Ursula. If you remember from the core game, Ursula is a former titled, former because her title was stolen by Vivian. In this update, Ursula finally finds Vivian and tries to exact her revenge and regain her title. That is until Belle steps in, where we get this very interesting dialogue. You, an ungifted, would stand in the way of my title and the new dawn? Then, after listening to her a couple of times and then after beating her first phase, she will say this. You think I'll let myself be taken by Sigrid's minions? Their day is done. The dawn is coming. And then maybe you listen to her a couple of more times, I don't know, but after you defeat her, she will say, I'll kill you all. There's no place for you in our world. And then Belle gets sniped in the head and she's dead. That's the end of the story. Okay, not really. She's just knocked out, and when she awakens, Ursula is gone, and Vivian gives Belle a piece of paper with a strange symbol on it. A symbol you might have seen somewhere before. Throughout the game, although mostly in the hollows, you can find these mysterious stone fragments of something. They all seem to fit in this archway in the library, but it's only when you collect them all, and all the missing books, and all the lost swords, that you can finally unveil its purpose. It's a portal, one that Jess and Vivian eventually get working, leading to the Colourless Void. Now, why would a portal with this symbol on it lead to the Graven's prison dimension? We'll get back to that, but there are a couple more places you might have seen it, one of which is in this room behind the locked door in the school. The only other thing in the room is this lantern on a pedestal. There's a nameplate that reads Fell. Fell is the last name of Bonnie, as we find out at the end of her rescuing Belle, although we can be fairly sure that the lantern doesn't belong to Bonnie herself, since first of all Belle doesn't recognise it, but also because we can see little Bonnie sitting next to a lantern in the game's end credits, so it probably belonged to one of her parents. As for why it's in the back of the school, well, Maggie raised Belle and Bonnie, so it makes sense for her to have kept something like this in Bonnie's stead. Again, distracted, what's more important is why the symbol is there, although before I get to that, let's talk about the last place it appears. In the ground level of Lawbride's tower, dusty and disused, is where Aura and Illy have set up camp, including the return of the ever-foreboding banners, one of which of course bears the symbol in question. However, most if not all of them may be relevant to the dawn, so let's go through them one by one, starting from the left. The defeated will return with blood-drenched intent, to turn places of joy into tragedy. Now that could be talking about Colourgrave, it certainly sounds like it. We know from one of the books that Bonnie can find in the Colourless Void that they plan on utilising Ledamra's natural laws of malice, which again we'll have to talk about another time, but it sounds like their plan is going to succeed. However, then there's the next line. But with his deeds, a family will reunite. His deeds. Huh. So I guess it could be talking about Nixian? Or Veritas, he's been a hot topic lately. All things considered, this banner might be the one exception when it comes to links with the dawn, so moving on to the next one. This one is actually the one we covered in the last video. She who seeks vengeance will release 7 ruins upon the world. The dawn will come. Now, in the last video, I said I think that this is either Belle seeking vengeance or someone seeking vengeance on Belle, and in my excitement to link everything together, I sort of overlooked the obvious. Isn't the one who seeks vengeance, Colourgrave? Well, yeah, but then how does Belle have anything to do with her colours? During Bonivania, we find Belle with her colours almost completely drained. We know from Prodigal that colours are power. Whether they're a person's life essence or soul or whatever doesn't matter, the point is that colours are a kind of power. And if Belle's malice could be taken out of her in the form of a colour, that's a lot of power that Colourgrave just gained. Perhaps the banner is depicting this event, which would absolutely make it relevant to the dawn. I'm going to actually skip the next banner along because, well, you'll see why when we get back to it, but the one after it reads, Words in the mountain ensure its own demise and her return. So shall begin the end of the dream. This one definitely requires some obscure knowledge. The mountain refers to the Graven's homeland within Ledamra, as can be seen in Prodigal when you listen to Leah's song, which leads us to her return, clearly meaning Colourgrave, this time with no ambiguity. Colourgrave and the Graven will return to Ledamra. So shall begin the end of the dream. And when do dreams tend to end? When you wake up, in the morning, or dawn. This is the key. I believe that the dawn is the end of Ledamra because I believe the dream here is Ledamra. Typically, I don't think that Ladamra is a literal dream where none of it's real. Armadale created Ladamra as her ideal world, or dream world if you like. And being the god of life, she is pretty death-averse to the point where in Ladamra, corpses don't exist. When people die here, they simply turn into a little ball of light and go to a place called the grave. Not all of them find their way so easily, and some wander off, so that's where the Reapers like Riley come in. It's their job to collect lost souls and bring them back to the grave. What actually happens at the grave is, at the moment, a complete mystery. Do they just keep them there forever? Do they simply dissipate eventually or go somewhere else? Are they reincarnated maybe? The point is, death still exists here, it's a necessary part of life, but it's nice and clean. This was supposed to be Armadale's ideal world, her dream world, but with Colorgrave's return, so shall begin the end of the dream. If not an apocalypse, then definitely a fundamental shift in how the world functions. Which brings us back to the banner we skipped. A child's cry will pit mother against demon. The dream will survive, but all titles cast to the winds. Now we have a child, a mother, and a demon, which could be a lot of people. Belle the child, Alexa the mother, and maybe Belle the demon as well if she transforms into a malevolent. Or of course Colorgrave is one of Armadale's children, maybe she's the child, or even the demon with another scale as the child. Or hell, in that case it could just be a human, because all humans are children of the scales. Listing and explaining all of the possibilities here would at least double this video's length, so let's look at the other part of this fortune. The dream will survive, but all titles cast to the winds. This is the fundamental shift I was talking about. If all of these banners talk about a single event, or more likely multiple converging events, then it seems like the end of the dream and the dawn will not be an all-out world-ending apocalypse, but the collapse of the balance of power within it. Maybe this time Sigrid will lose to the Graven. The title either die or the system is abolished or eroded, hence cast to the winds. We can't forget about Ursula talking about the coming dawn and our world like she's a part of some organised group looking to overthrow Sigrid and her way of doing things, which she most likely is. And since we're jumping around a little bit already, let's go back to the first banner. If these are converging events, turning places of joy into tragedy and reuniting a family could be the same thing. The Scales are siblings after all. With all of this, we finally get to the banner that actually contains the symbol I've been so focused on. By work of dreaded hand, all light will be stolen. The thief will be crowned. That sort of sounds like it's talking about Auron. This doesn't seem like it fits the pattern. Suddenly we're back with Auron and Veritas, but then what does the symbol mean? Why is it on this banner? My entire thing here was building up to theorising that the symbol represents the dawn. I mean, it's on the portal that leads to the colourless void where Colorgrave is, whose return brings about the beginning of the end of the dream. It's in the room where a Reaper's lantern is kept, whose job it is to guide lost souls to the grave. The grave, Colorgrave, Graven, how are these things not linked? They have to be. Hi, Editing Lewis here. It seems I may have overlooked a small detail. I can see this possibly becoming a trend with these videos actually, but you know, these banners, they don't actually show what the future will be. I mean, Aura's fortunes do, but the banners themselves, the images on them, are representative of what you did to unlock them, like the most obvious one, which, you know, makes me realise I should have probably thought of this sooner, the 100 is for getting 100% on your save file, and the one with the Dawn symbol on it is because you defeated Ursula, who was a part of this Dawn organisation, or whatever it turns out to be. And yeah, I'm fully committing to calling it the Dawn symbol now, because, hey, remember that image I showed earlier in the video for the Halted Dawn update? There's the symbol. I honestly, I should have realised all of this a lot sooner, but you know, sometimes I just get this tunnel vision, I get wrapped up in my own theories, and I just sort of say things that are probably not correct. But you know, I caught it this time, I saved it, so it's fine. Let's continue to listen to what this crazy person has to say here. Colorgrave absolutely plans on using Auron as a key part of her invasion. Sigrid is a light mage, so all light being stolen might refer to her defeat or death. The problem is, Dawn has the connotation of light, so for all light to be stolen seems a little contradictory. Maybe I'm missing something here, so please leave a comment with your ideas. This isn't just me fishing for engagement, I really do think I've missed something, and I really can't think of what it is. Looking back on all of this now, the phrase "are you looking forward to the dawn" is clearly a code to ask people which side of the conflict they're on. So with all of that in mind, are you looking forward to the dawn?